I'm Douglas Bell, and here we are again at Ringing the Bell podcast, where we are interviewing artists at the intersection of art, social justice, and the human spirit. And today, I have a guest with me who I am just so impressed with. I met her maybe a year and a half ago at the commissioned work for New Now at Performing Arts Houston. And I was so impressed with her leading performance of Emancipation. And I want to introduce to you a Houstonian today who I just enjoy so much, and I think you will too as well. I want to introduce my new friend, Sachi.
Hi.
How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing great. Very glad to be here. We've been trying to set this up for a little while,
Yes, we have.
I'm glad that we finally made it.
Yes, we have. So how did you do through the storm?
Oh my gosh, we did not have power for a while. And then, honestly, our power came like half back on. Like half of the house was lit and the other half of the house was still without power. It was very strange. The AC still wasn't working. Anyway, the next day they ended up coming back in and fixing it. But we were without power for like at least a week.
Oh, you were out power for a week?
For like a week, yeah.
Okay.
It was very hard. And then I'm in a show right now and we had to set back our opening date.
Because y'all didn't have power.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot.
Okay.
It really took us out.
So now we were only without power for really only one day.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we got lucky. But this has forced me now to understand how to get a generator to work.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's where I have to go now. I got to figure out how. So I hired an electrician, so they're coming in to figure all that stuff out, because between losing food, heat, and everything else, I got to figure out something else.
Agreed. And Houston is always going to have
correct
all of the weather things, so it's just better to be prepared for sure.
Mm-hmm. So when we met a year and a half ago, you were starring in Emancipation.
I sure was.
And I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about how that all came about and what spoke to you about that. And if you don't mind, for the audience, can you just kind of give us a summary of Emancipation and then tell us how it all came about?
Yeah, so Emancipation, written by Shawana Renee Ravon. We love her.
Yes.
Yeah, it was about this man who basically not to spoil it, but to spoil it. He's like faced with his daughter, which was me, and he's in this moment at the beginning of the show where there's black on black crime, and she it's like a out of body experience where she takes him back to basically visit Reverend Jack Yates and to meet Anna Dupree. Yes. And then he also meets like his father, and he just is faced with these people in these moments to kind of reflect on his life and to make a different choice. To not, fall into the stereotypes, to not fall into the generational curses and things like that. And so, wonderful show. It was also only 30 minutes or so?
Correct.
But fantastic show. How did this all come about? I'm not entirely sure about Shawana's process with getting it approved and all of that good stuff.
Right.
But once they do all of those things, they then eventually find their actors. Our director, Our director, her name is Monique. Also love her. She used to work at Tuts. Now she's working in DC. But she came back out here to do this. Okay. And they reached out to us. So they already kind of knew who they wanted for the show. Okay. Because sometimes it's like we'll post it and then you can audition and we'll find people. But for this, they were like, no, I think we want her. I think we want him. And so they ended up finding all of us. We came together. It was a very, very, very fast process.
Correct.
We literally only rehearsed for maybe a week.
Correct.
Got off book very, very fast, and then had the performance. And it was a great time. And I think that we technically could have had the scripts in our hand. Like it was technically a stage reading, but they really wanted it to feel more like a mini play. And so they were like, if y'all can, we would really like for y'all to be off book. And we ended up making it work, and it ended up happening.
Yes.
So yeah, that's kind of how it all came about. I was very grateful for the experience because, we were kind of talking about just getting those black stories, black bodies, full all-black cast on stage, and to be able to present this work in Houston was just something very, very special.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which, and with that being said, I really do want to give Performing Arts Houston credit for stepping into this space.
Yes.
Meg Booth, the CEO, I want to applaud her courage for commissioning these types of works. And I'm glad that Performing Arts Houston is willing to be seen in this way and to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's very important.
So you're a Houstonian.
I sure am.
And I have to ask, where'd you go to high school at?
I went to high school, Dawson, in Pearland.
Oh, Dawson.
Uh-huh.
Okay, see, that's a generation gap. I'm an old man, so I ain't never heard of that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, okay.
It's newer.
It's newer. Okay.
But before I got there, they were just opening like a few years before that. So I'll say it's newer.
Okay.
It's been around a little while now.
Okay.
Sure.
So when did you start acting?
Oh, in high school, actually. Very funny story. I was supposed to go to Pearland High School.
Okay.
I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
I am number 3 of 5, right in the middle child for real.
Okay.
And my 2 older siblings went to Pearland High School, and I was like, I just want to do what my siblings are doing. But God had a different plan for me. And so I ended up going to Dawson, and I was very like, I don't want to be here for for my whole freshman year.
Okay.
And my choir teacher was like, Sachi, like, hear me when I say, I really think that you need to audition for these shows. I think that you'd really enjoy it. I was running track.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader before that, like just an athlete, and I just was like, I don't know if that's what I want to do. Anywho, I auditioned for Pop Show or Talent Show or whatever for the school, and
Pop Show.
Yeah, it's called Pop Show.
So Pop Show. Okay.
Very fun.
Okay.
And my choir teacher, Miss Silva, and the theater teacher at the time, his name is Aaron Brown. He's also somebody who works in the Houston area. He directs a lot of stuff.
Okay.
He like stopped me mid audition and was like, "So why haven't you been auditioning for the things?" And I was like,
Right.
I don't know. He was like, okay, I expect you to be at all the auditions next year.
Right.
Got it? And I was like, okay. Once I started, my first show was Into the Woods, my sophomore year of high school, and I was inseparable from theater ever since.
Okay.
And I've literally, then went to San Jack first, then Sam Houston, did theater, got my BFA in acting and directing, and been doing it professionally since the beginning of 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And and to pick up on that part of your story where you were talking about the number of people in your life who saw this in you, I think that is so important, and I think these things in our lives cannot happen without these few individuals who see something special in us or see something that we don't see in ourselves, and how that can make such a difference.
Absolutely.
But I also think you as an individual also too has to be open to it. You may say, well, no, that's not for me. Well, no, but eventually when you open up to this idea and just simply stop judging it or stop trying to make sense of it, but yet just let go and maybe just have fun with it, then all of a sudden you start seeing things that you never realized would have ever been there.
Literally the moment you accept it, all the doors just start opening. My dad used to always tell me, or still tells me to this day, we're just very in tune with each other.
So you and your dad have a great relationship?
We do have a pretty good. Honestly, me and my dad and me and my mom, they're not together anymore, but individually I have great relationships with both of my parents.
Right.
And my dad, especially once I got to college, we really got a lot closer. And he used to always tell me, just listen to that little voice inside of you.
Correct.
Sometimes there will be something that tells you, I don't know why I need to be here, but just go. Just show up anyway. The hardest part is usually showing up. But once you're there, like things just start happening and you're like, wow, that's why I needed to be here today.
Right.
And it felt like one of those things for sure. Like I was like, okay, obviously I need to just surrender and I just need to do it.
Yes.
And once I did it, I was like, oh, I'm in love. I love this for me. This is exactly what I need to be doing. This is my passion. This is my number one like career choice. And I'm very grateful that I've been able to be successful within these 2 years of my career so far, because not everybody is that fortunate. And
Correct.
So,
Correct. Now, do you feel that, are you kind of drawn to stories that have kind of a social commentary to it.
What do you mean?
Well, like Emancipation. Emancipation very much had a social comment.
Oh, yeah.
To it. Do those types of plays really hook you? That there's more to than maybe just the entertainment of the play, but there's actually an underlying message?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because also, honestly, this is something that I love about theater in general. I talk about it all the time, get on my little soapbox about theater. But I really appreciate that theater is a teaching tool as well, just for the world. It was created to be sort of a mirror for society.
Okay.
And so, in some, if for some stories, it could just be spectacle, and like you said, just for entertainment, and just for you to come out and have a good time, for the music, the songs, the dancing, okay? But then you get to these other stories that just have a real meaning and message and make people go home and think, like Emancipation.
Yes.
Another show that Shawana wrote that I got to be in so graciously was called You're Cordially Invited to Sit In. I did that in 2022 as well.
And where was that at?
That was at Stages.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, what a show. It was about the start of desegregation in Houston. And it was just a really, really special show. That cast, the meaning. I mean, we had people walk out of that show because they just were like, I'm not about to sit here and listen to y'all talk about this, that, and the other, who obviously were probably in that time period. And those shows can also be really hard, but also they're just very important. Like, these conversations should be had. Like, these should be in discussion. We should acknowledge our past so that we can have a better future.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, it's not meant, I hate that people feel bad. It's not meant to make anybody feel bad. It's just meant to acknowledge that this is what happened. And in any relationship, and I guess that's what I see life as a number of different relationships. And this is just a relationship that society has with itself.
Exactly. And
it's okay to say, I made a mistake.
Or even if it's not you directly, like your grandfather, your whoever, that's okay. But just don't also make the same mistakes as them. And how can you be better?
Yes.
You know, my dad, again, always used to say, every generation, we should just be getting better. You should be aiming to be better than your parents.
Correct.
And I don't know, that's also something that has always stuck with me.
Correct.
Because, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So no, I do. I really hate to see people walk out of these shows because it's not meant for you to take it personally.
Right.
Yeah, it's not meant for you to carry any shame.
Exactly.
It's really just meant for you to acknowledge what went on, and it just is.
Absolutely.
It just is. Absolutely. And so you pick up from there and you move on, and to your point, you just be a better person.
Right.
So yeah, so that was something I was really curious. Do certain stories really grab you that you can, that are maybe more important than maybe, like I say, just the entertainment of it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And also it can be really difficult because people like to merge actor and character into one person.
Right.
But my job is to be an actor, so I am putting on this person, and sometimes they can mistaken the ideas or the words that the character has to say with you. And then they start taking things more personal.
Okay.
And that's not to say that Sachi might have similar thoughts and feelings as the character, but I am not that person, And so that can be hard sometimes because it's just a very vulnerable job, especially with shows like that. Sit-in was a very hard one. It was amazing, and I would do it again. I have no regrets. I literally would do it again. But there were definitely nights that I went home and I would call my mom and she'd be like, how was the show tonight? And I was like, today was really hard, Mom. Like, these white people were looking at me like, and making audible noises, audible sounds about obviously not being in agreement with the things that we were saying. Like I said, some of them would leave at intermission. Like, and those days were really hard because it also just was a reflection, again, of like how far we've come, but how that it wasn't that long ago, you know, and how we're still working and trying to fix all of these issues. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Well, even with that being said, it just kind of hit my brain. As an artist, maybe to see that person leave at intermission or to realize that person left at intermission, when you come back out, they're not there in their seat. Is there something about being an artist, too, that maybe hits your brain or makes you kind of go, You know, like you said, it's one thing to kind of say, well, we're doing this show, but from an artist standpoint, does it maybe feel like I didn't convince them of something?
I wouldn't say that specifically. Not I didn't convince them. If anything, I would say the opposite.
Okay.
I would say, because theater is made for you to feel something.
Okay.
Whether that be joy, sadness, anger, like...
Okay.
It is meant for you to feel something.
Okay.
And so, honestly, the people who leave, I don't think it's that they weren't convinced. If anything, I would think that they are convinced and that it was too much for them. And they were like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to go.
Okay.
And so more like exiting the conversation instead of allowing themselves to just be a part of the conversation.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
So you've been performing now for a couple of years. You went to school, got your degree. This is something that just kind of hit my brain just at this moment. Is there something about today, being out of school and acting versus being in school and acting? Are there any differences you see or anything that you've learned that you kind of go, oh, wow, who knew? Or you see where I'm kind of going with this question? What kind of hits your brain there?
What can I say? Because in school, it's still a very educational thing. You're still learning a lot. Not to say that you don't learn the things in the professional world. You definitely still do. But with school, it's still kind of, I don't know, teaching you how to be an actor, how to find these different things depending on the shows that you're doing and things like that. But whenever you're in the real world, also whenever you're in school, getting into a show is, I would say, a little less difficult because professionally, there's just a whole pool of people to choose from.
Correct.
Even at Tuts, it's not just the Houstonians. They go to New York. They go to California.
Oh, do they really?
They look all over.
Oh, do they really?
To find people. And so it's like, please cast me, please cast me, please cast me. And it's the same at school, but it's a much smaller pool to choose from. And at Sam Houston, it's like you're cast in one show a semester. If you get cast in one show a semester. So you can't be in, if there are 3 shows happening that semester, you can only be in one.
Okay.
And they try to spread everybody out.
So that's between homework and everything else. You've got this one show to do.
Exactly.
And do you get graded for that?
You don't get graded for the show, but there is like what's the word that I'm looking for? Not a participation grade, but there is like you have to be involved in something that semester, if that makes sense. So if it's one of those shows, or if it's crew or costuming,
right? So would it be like an elective?
Kind of.
So you have to take an elective,
right?
But the elective is not going to kill your GPA.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And even if you don't, even if you aren't in the show, you still have to go see the show.
The other 2 shows. Okay, you have to go see the other 2 shows
because
it's an
you have
attendance.
Classes
it's kind of an
exactly.
Okay.
That's the word. I don't know why I couldn't think of attendance, but it's kind of like an attendance grade.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, anywho, in the real world, if you don't get it, you don't get it. It is what it is. You have to go find something else to do.
Correct.
Personally, I like to move as if I don't have the gig until I get the offer.
Right.
Some people like to be like, I'm really hoping that I get this, so I'm going to keep that. No. Me personally, I like to get a lot of options, and then I get to choose, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And if I don't get it, then okay, it's not that bad because this is how I'm getting my work for this time. Because having a gig to gig life is very, very difficult.
Yes.
It's a very hard thing. So finding
right.
some sort of stability is really important.
Correct.
Because this is not just my passion, but it's my job, it's my career, it's how I make money.
Correct.
It's how I pay my bills.
Correct.
And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit harder in the real world for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, no, and I'm totally aware of that. You know, I asked that question from the idea that, so when I was in graduate school, getting my MBA, one of the teachers said that at the level you all are at, everything you do, you need to answer that question in regards to either how you can make your company money or how you can save your company money. Mm-hmm. Now that statement right there changed so many things for me because I realized where I fit in the organization, and I realized the impact of my decisions of what I was doing. So that's why I asked that question, kind of like, well, when you were in school and you take it, okay, how did you use it? How did it all come together for you? So yeah, yes, you're right. It's a lot harder in the real world than, I get that. No, and I'm totally with you.
Definitely.
So after a show, what's kind of I'm a big meditation person. I've been meditating now for about 30 years.
Wow.
I go on long retreats where I don't talk for a week. A lot of people laugh at that because I'm a big talker. So for me not to talk for an entire week is asking a lot.
I get it.
So how do you wind down? What's kind of your place for getting recharged?
Yeah. Good question. Because especially after the shows, my family and friends love to joke about me coming home and they're like, oh, you're always on 12 after a show.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, because the adrenaline.
Because
like,
yes.
You know, I just bowed. Like, what do you mean? That's the last thing we do. And everyone's like, wow. So it's peak energy for sure. And that can be a lot to be like, okay, we need to.
You got to
breathe.
Yeah.
Exhale. And also depending on the show, if it requires a lot vocally, like it's very important to not talk, and to just.
It's important not to talk. Mm-hmm. 'Cause you have to give your body a rest.
Vocal rest, have to. You just have to, because literally you just won't make it if you don't allow your body to reset.
Okay.
And so usually whenever I'm winding down, it's done with a lot of liquids, lots of water, lots of tea, honey.
Okay.
I usually eat after, and so it's usually a very late dinner for me, because before a show, I'll do small things, small bites.
Yes.
Fruits and things like that, maybe a little wrap or something along those lines, but like nothing super heavy, especially if I have to dance a lot in the show. So after the show, I'm usually really hungry.
Right.
So eat, drink, go lay down, put on something, whether that be music or a TV show, to literally like let my mind let go of the show.
Okay.
Also, if like things happen during the show, because it's live theater, you know, things happen all the time. You might miss a line.
Yes.
You might stutter here or there. The costume change didn't work today.
Yes.
Your shoe might have flew off. That literally happened to me during a show. My shoe flew off in the middle of a dance number. Like things like that. You kind of just think about everything and you're like, okay, that was today's show. I'm going to let that be what it is. You can't change anything. Tomorrow's a new day. And then eventually my body will realize how tired I am. And I'm done. I'll go to sleep and pass out for the night, and I will just sleep as long as I humanly possibly can, depending on what I have to do the next day. But yeah, so there is I think a sense of meditation in there and recentering myself. And then just refueling my body, and then being like, okay, that was today.
Right. Yeah, I took ad-lib classes. Gosh, Lee, maybe 2016, I took these ad-lib classes.
Oh my gosh.
It was a place, it was off of a TC Jester and like 34, something like that. But they had all these exercises, you know, like where you take your wallet out or you take and you put it on a table.
Yeah.
But you have to do something different with it that, you know, like if it's your wallet, you have to pick it up and as a phone.
Right.
And then the next person goes, so you kind of run out, and then that person, and it kind of whittles down to who's last. Well, just to tell you this quick story, so I ended up doing this whole thing ad lib about being in prison and being on lockdown and trying to get some honey buns in order to make it through 24-hour lockdown.
Oh my God.
And I made this whole thing up. And at the end of it, this was kind of like a thing at the end where you had to, now it wasn't a grade, but people were in the audience.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you know, at the end of something, it was kind of like your class.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, a lady walks over to me, she says, I am so sorry about your time in prison. And I felt so bad. I was like, ma'am, I have not been in prison. Yeah, ma'am, I made all of that up. I have not been. So whatever I did was hugely convincing. But but that just means I watch too much TV. That's what that means.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. I'm also a teaching artist, and so I get to do like these theater camps and stuff with kids during the summer if I'm free.
Okay.
And that's like an exercise that we do with the kids.
Right.
Is like use this object as something that it's not, and use your imagination, and so that's just. I just love that because I play that game with my kids.
Yeah. and I got to that because you were talking about your shoe coming off, and to your point about live theater, like I said, I used to make my living as a magician. So to your point, things don't work, and you really have to know how to just kind of keep on going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You just and have fun with it. And the audience will, if you're having fun, the audience will have fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but if you get real kind of whatever, then the audience just kind of
can feel
it. Yeah, they're going to go wherever you're at. That's where they're going to go.
Because they don't know what the show is.
Exactly. Right.
But you also have to know how to think on your toes.
Yes, you do.
Things are planned, but again, it's live theater.
Yes.
Things happen all the time.
Yes.
So
yes.
You never know.
So tell me, so what are you working on now?
I am currently in The Wizard of Oz at Queensberry Theater.
Okay.
I'm Dorothy.
Okay.
Very big show for me, very big deal for me. It's not every day that you see a black Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, not The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Because it's a very, very white show. The music, the words, like the dialogue.
Right.
1920s white dialogue. And so, honestly, this is a very challenging role for me because I was like, ooh, like, not that I haven't been the lead before. I've been the lead before. I know the, like, you never get to leave the stage, and when you do, you are chugging water. Like, I'm familiar with that.
Right.
But those shows that I've done were black shows.
Okay.
And they were black stories. Like You're Cordially Invited to Sit In, Thunder Knocking on the Door was also at stages.
Okay.
And this show, I was like, wow, this is crazy because I know this show so well. It's The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Everybody knows this show.
Right.
And still putting on Dorothy, I was like, oh wow, I have to find her for me. You know, my version of Dorothy is not going to be everybody's Dorothy.
Yeah, that's true.
Because obviously they know that they hired a black girl to play this role.
Correct.
And they acknowledged that, and they're like, no, we want you to take liberty with what you kind of feel for her character.
Right.
And so finding the happy medium with having to say white words, but still making her a person of color was a very challenging thing for me. But I think that I've done a pretty good job. I'm very proud of myself.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I'm working on that. It closes next Sunday.
Okay.
July the 28th.
Okay.
At 2 p.m. That's our last show.
Okay.
Yeah, we opened last weekend. We kind of got set back a little bit because of the hurricane.
Because of hurricane.
But since we've opened, it's been a very rewarding experience. People seem to love it. They're having a lot of fun. This is one of those spectacle, you're coming to just be entertained, have a good time shows.
Yes.
It's still a very hard show to do. It's a very hard show to do.
Okay.
But very fun show to do.
Okay.
And so I'm grateful for the opportunity because I don't know when else I'll be able to do The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And be Dorothy.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's
good
what
for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
I have one last question, though. You use the word post. So I'm not familiar with how stage performers get hired. So they were posted at Tuts. That's where. So the role gets posted there.
So
yeah, how does this work?
Now that everything's online,
Okay.
all of the actors go on either Actors Access, they go on, what is that other one called? There's a lot of like different theater sites where they basically have like a list of postings and like jobs that and auditions that are coming up.
Okay.
And
so you'll get an email notification?
Well, if you're subscribed to them specifically, yes. But really and truly, you just kind of know when audition season is, which is usually the beginning of the year.
There's an audition season.
Now, there's always auditions happening.
Okay.
But like they tend to do, and this is all around the world, they tend to do like a cattle call, which is like a general audition, and everybody comes in. You sing like 2 songs, or you do a song and a monologue. And then they'll reach back out to you with specific callbacks for their shows of the season. So if there's 3 shows and you come in for the general audition, they'll be like, hey, thank you for auditioning. We really want to call you back for this show and this show. And then you'll be like, okay, and then you go to the callback for that specific show, or you send in a video for that specific show. And then there's a second round of callbacks, and then the offers go out. That's usually how it goes. Or if you're well known in the community, they might reach out to you individually.
Like say, you got for Emancipation.
Yes, exactly. And I actually, same thing for Dorothy. I did not audition for Queensberry this past year, but they were still looking for a Dorothy, and they reached out to me individually and said, hey, are you free for these dates? I said, yes. They said, are you equity, non-equity? I said, I'm equity. They said, wonderful. Do you mind sending us an audition tape? We want to call you back for the role of Dorothy. I said, great. I sent in my audition tapes, and I got an offer back. And I was like, oh my God, yay, because also these people have seen me perform in the Houston area. They already know what I can do. So it kind of depends. It's an interesting process, but for the most part, it's a posting, you go to the general auditions, you wait to hear back. And so, yeah, it's a very up and down.
Well, as much as I said I had one last question, now I have another question.
No, go ahead.
Do you want to stay in Houston, or do you, or do you do this? I mean, yeah, obviously do it, but you want your home base to be Houston versus New York City.
Absolutely. Great question. Great question. I am not in a rush to leave Houston. But I know that my life will eventually take me out of the States to New York or California, or maybe both. I do want to create my base out here. I feel like I've been doing that for sure. Been, just becoming a
these
little
are your
more
people.
known.
This is Houston is your tribe. Yeah, this is where you come home. And like, even if I go out there, they can call me back if they need to, or whatever. And people out here in Houston also know a lot of people in those places too. And it's also all about who you know and about networking. Yes, it is.
So we're really creating the base here for sure. So like I said, not in a rush to leave, but I know that my life will take me there at some point, because I want to be on Broadway, and I can't be on Broadway in Houston.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. I was just curious, things like that, kind of part of your future, what you're kind of thinking about. About Broadway. Well, to be honest with you, I wish I could turn, or not wish, my intention is to turn Cakewalk into a play one day, hopefully.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
I absolutely think it could happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the framework is there.
Agreed.
For someone to take that novel and turn it into a play.
Absolutely.
And to your point, but it would be a play that would make you think. It would be, and maybe some people at intermission would get up and because they might be thinking too much. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Or it makes them uncomfortable for whatever reason.
Or it makes them uncomfortable. That's true.
People just like to leave when things are uncomfortable. When really, I think you should feel through that. Why are you uncomfortable? Let's think about that.
Well, but I think a lot of people maybe don't know how.
Yeah.
To sit with it. And I also believe that's the beauty of now, since you've said it, I'll add to that by saying I think that's the beauty of meditation.
Yeah.
So my spiritual teacher at the Houston Zen Center, during some very troubling times in my life, that was one of the main things that she really pushed with me, was learning how to sit with myself and learning how to sit with my life as it is. And I think a lot of people, to your point, maybe it's not so much that they don't want to sit with it. Maybe it's the inability of knowing how to sit with it.
Exactly.
And because I don't know how to sit with it, I have to get up and go. I've got to get up and go do something, when really sometimes just sitting is actually a very powerful doing. Just sitting, just being present.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think a lot of us with our society don't realize the power in just sitting.
Yeah.
So where can we find you on the social media?
Oh my goodness, yes. On Instagram, my handle is ver_Sachi, so VER_SACHI 99.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook, Sarah Sachi. It's the same picture, so if you find me on Instagram first, then you can find me on Facebook. What else am I on? What other things are there? Twitter.
Okay.
Which is also Versace. It's all the same.
Okay.
I try and keep it easy for everybody.
Exactly.
But yeah, mainly Instagram.
Mainly Instagram.
I would say that's probably the number one, especially to like, not only am I active with like posting what I'm doing on there and keeping people updated in that way, but also like reaching out wise, if you were to DM me, like I'm much more responsive on Instagram.
Okay.
Facebook is like a once a month.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, to your point, is you can't do them all, and but some formats don't really resonate with you.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like you. Instagram kind of resonates with me a lot better. Yeah.
And then I get on there for my older family members because they'll be on there.
Okay.
I'll be like, okay. Let me check in with my people. So I do that for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you, thank you for sitting with me today. This was really nice. I mean, like I said before, when I first met you at Performing Arts Houston, I got to be honest with you, I was blown away with your performance. I mean, I think Emancipation caught me by surprise. I was sitting there, and when the two men had the guns, and you entered the stage, and the way you grabbed the audience and you really moved our attention away from the two men, but to yourself and to your conversation that you were having with him and this out-of-body experience. Yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, I've got to meet her. And so I want to tell you, thank you for what you did in that show. I think, I don't know, I guess I'm a big supporter of the arts.
Yeah.
And I think Houston sometimes doesn't do enough to support its artists.
Agreed.
And we have so many artists here in the city.
Absolutely.
And I get it. I know Houston's a working town, and I know I get it. I do. But at the same time, Houston artists, there's just a bunch of us in all kinds of formats. Theater, dance, literature. I mean, it's all here.
Yeah.
So I just want to tell you thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So yes, Douglas Bell, I want to tell you all for staying with me today, watching another podcast of Ringing the Bell with me, Douglas Bell. Please subscribe, hit the like button. Also, too, you can find me on my social handles at Douglas Bell Author for Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and my website is www.douglasbellbooks.com. Thank you and have a great day.